Ever get that feeling, where like the smart thing to do just feels wrong?
Yeah.
Like I know I should go for a run right now, but
That couch is looking awfully comfy.
exactly, it's that mental tug of war. And, it got me thinking because that same battle plays out with our money all the time, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. That's what makes personal finance so interesting, right? It's not just about the numbers, it's about our psychology.
Right. So today we're diving into that very tension, the gap between what we should do with money, rationally speaking, and what we could actually stomach as humans.
And we're doing that with a little help from Morgan Housel's Reasonable Rational.
Exactly. Which, by the way, starts off with one heck of a story. Remember that whole thing about treating syphilis with malaria?
Oh, yeah. Julius Wagner Jauregg, early 1900s. Definitely falls under innovative but unsettling.
Because, like, the logic tracks, right? Fevers can fight infection.
Right. So Wagner Jauregg notices that some syphilis patients who also got hit with really high fevers, like from malaria, they actually recovered. Not everyone, of course. It was a risky move, no doubt. But the success rate was surprisingly decent for the time.
Decent enough to earn a Nobel Prize, no less.
Yeah, which is probably a whole other deep dive.
Nobel Prize for giving people malaria. History is wild. But, okay, bigger picture here. I see where you're going with this. Like, our bodies sometimes get that extreme measures work, even when our brains are like, nope, no thank you.
Exactly. Our biology might be all fever fights infection, we got this, but our actual experience of it is pure misery. So we reach for the comfort, even if toughing it out is, like, technically the better move.
Technically being the operative word there. It's like,
Yeah.
I know I should just let this cold run its course, but
Yeah.
NyQuil, please.
Happens to the best of us. And you see that same short-term thinking play out in investing all the time.
Oh, tell me about it. Chasing the highest returns, ignoring the risks, sounds great in theory.
Until the market throws a curveball and suddenly you're not so comfortable with that roller coaster anymore.
And boom, the panic selling begins. But, it's not just about our own personal risk tolerance, is it? There's that whole social aspect too. Have you ever made an investment decision based on, I don't know, what other people might think, even if it didn't totally make sense to you?
Oh, the dreaded keeping up with the Joneses. More common than you might think.
Because rationally, we all know we shouldn't compare our portfolios, but it's tough, isn't it? Especially when you've got that one coworker who's always bragging about their crypto gains.
Right. It's that social risk factor. And sometimes, honestly, choosing the option that gives you peace of mind, even if it's not the mathematically optimal one, that's rational too, in its own way.
It's about that emotional return on investment as well.
Oh.
Okay, so we've talked about our own often irrational behaviors with money. But speaking of smart people not always making the smartest moves, Housel's story about Harry Markowitz always gets me.
Ah, yes. Harry Markowitz, the father of modern portfolio theory. For those who don't know, his work basically underpins how we diversify investments today.
Right. Groundbreaking stuff.
Yeah.
Except when it came to his own money.
Yeah, he didn't exactly go full-on math whiz.
Nope. Split his investments 50-50, stocks and bonds, because it felt emotionally safer. Minimized his future regret, he called it. Which, like, Nobel Prize winner or not, I feel that.
It's the human element, right? We're not making these decisions in a vacuum. We're comparing ourselves to others, worrying about judgment. That all factors in.
It's like, what if I'm the only one who doesn't become a Bitcoin millionaire? FOMO is real, even for brilliant economists, apparently.
But okay, this is all well and good, right? Acknowledging that we're not robots. But where does it leave us when it comes to actually making smart money decisions? Because some of this stuff out there, I'm looking at you, Yale study that advocates young people going broke buying stock.
Oh, yeah, that one raised a few eyebrows, didn't it?
Just a tad. Embrace being broke. It'll all work out later. I mean, come on. Well, to be fair, they weren't exactly saying go live under a bridge. It's more about leveraging your youth, financially speaking.
As in, max out those credit cards, kids, YOLO, buy all the stock.
Not quite. But the idea is young people have something even better than money, time. So even if they take on some debt early on to invest aggressively, they have more years for that money to ideally grow exponentially.
Through the magic of compounding returns.
Exactly, which basically means your money makes money, which then makes more money. Snowball effect.
Okay, so like instead of just earning interest on your initial investment,
you're also earning interest on the interest and then interest on that interest and so on. It compounds over time. So the earlier you start, even with a small amount, the longer that snowball has to roll and theoretically turn into this avalanche of wealth.
Right, theoretically being the key word here, I think. Because even I can see the flaw in this plan. And I say that as someone who once considered buying a timeshare, so my bar is low. But come on, life doesn't exactly follow a perfectly plotted stock graph, does it?
That's the thing, isn't it? This study assumes everyone has the risk tolerance of, like, a Wall Street tycoon, which is not most of us.
Right. What about those surprise medical bills or, wanting to, actually enjoy some of your money before you turn 65?
Exactly. Things happen. And imagine watching your portfolio tank while you're barely making rent. Most people, understandably, would be hitting the eject button long before they saw those magical compounding returns.
Talk about financial trauma. It'd be like, hey, thanks for that advice, Yale. I'm now broke and terrified of the stock market. Super helpful.
Right. You probably swear off investing forever, which defeats the whole purpose. So yeah, prime example of a strategy that might look amazing in a spreadsheet, but in the real world, with real human emotion.
Total recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
So where does that leave us then? If we shouldn't necessarily be trying to perfectly game the system like a robot, what should we be doing?
Well, that's what's so interesting about Housel's argument. He suggests that part of being a reasonable investor might actually involve leaning into our emotions a bit more.
Hold on, back up a sec. I thought we were trying to remove emotion from the equation, not add more fuel to the fire.
Not exactly. There's a big difference between, say, panic selling because some doom and gloom article told you the sky was falling, and, let's say, having a genuine interest or even passion for your investments.
So instead of trying to be completely detached, emotionless robots.
It's about finding investments that resonate with you on a deeper level. Things you actually care about.
Okay. Tell me more about this whole love your investments idea. Because on the surface, that sounds a little, even for me.
Sure. Well, think of it this way. Let's say you're really passionate about, renewable energy. Instead of just blindly chasing the highest returns, you could invest in companies that are developing solar panels or wind turbines, things that align with your values.
So it's about aligning your money with your, morals and beliefs.
Exactly. Or maybe you're a total foodie. Well, you could explore companies involved in sustainable agriculture or, innovative food tech.
Okay, so instead of just, make me the most money, I don't care how, it's more about
investing in things you believe in, companies you can get behind, sectors that excite you.
And how does that translate to better returns? Because at the end of the day, that's still the goal, right?
Right. Well, because when you're genuinely connected to your investments, you're far more likely to stick with them, even when things get bumpy. And consistency, riding out those inevitable market dips, that's a huge part of long-term success.
It's like when you actually care about something, you're more likely to stick with it through the tough times instead of bailing at the first sign of trouble.
Exactly. And think about it like a relationship, right? The strongest ones aren't just built on, fleeting attraction.
Definitely not. Been there, done that, got the emotional baggage to prove it.
Right. It's about shared values, mutual respect, and knowing you're both in it for the long haul, through the good and the bad. And finding investments you love, in a sense, can actually be a smarter, more reasonable, and ultimately more successful approach. Because it's about more than just the numbers.
It's about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Okay, so we've got don't be a robot, embrace your emotions, but also don't let your emotions completely hijack your portfolio. There's a line there somewhere.
There is. And Housel dives into some other seemingly irrational habits that might not be so crazy after all. Remember when we were talking about our own portfolios and you admitted to,
Oh, no. Are you going to bring up my buy local kick again?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. My little bias towards companies in my own backyard. What can I say? I like supporting the local economy.
Which, by the way, is a well-documented thing. It's called home bias, that tendency to favor investments closer to home, even if it's not always, shall we say, the most globally diversified approach.
Hey, better the devil you know, right?
Right.
Okay, but how about this picking individual stocks? Talk about a recipe for irrational decision-making. I mean, between you and me, how many times have you looked at your portfolio and thought, should have bought Apple stock back in the day?
More times than I care to admit.
Right. But in all seriousness, isn't that part of the allure, though? It's not just about the money, is it? There's a certain, excitement that comes with researching companies, placing your bets, seeing if your instincts were right.
It's like you're not just riding the wave, you're trying to pick the best wave to surf.
Exactly. So maybe a little dabbling isn't the worst thing in the world. Again, as long as it's like a small piece of a bigger, more diversified pie, right? Don't put all your eggs in one basket, as Grandma used to say.
Sound advice. It all comes back to finding that balance. What helps you sleep at night while still moving towards those financial goals? And sometimes that means embracing the quirks that make us human, even if they seem a little irrational on the surface.
Speaking of which, didn't Hassel mention something about Jack Bogle, Mr. Index Fund himself, having a son who became an active fund manager?
He did. Can you imagine?
Talk about a walking contradiction.
Right. But, to Bogle's credit, he recognized that sometimes we make choices for reasons beyond pure rationality. He even put some money into his son's funds, famously saying, "We do some things for family."
Ah, see, that's kind of sweet.
It is. It's a good reminder that even the most, shall we say, disciplined investors are human at the end of the day.
Which, if Jack Bogle can admit that maybe he doesn't have all the answers, it gives the rest of us permission to, cut ourselves some slack.
Exactly. It's not about being perfect or having some sort of superhuman ability to predict the future.
Right. It's about recognizing those biases, being honest with ourselves about our motivations, and then making the best decisions we can with the information we have.
And sometimes that means trusting your gut, even if it goes against the conventional wisdom.
Because at the end of the day, creating a financial life you love isn't just about the numbers. It's about finding a path that feels right for you, quirks and all.
Absolutely. It's about aligning your money with your values, your goals, your vision for the future.
And hey, if a little dash of reasonable helps you get there, well, maybe that's the most rational choice of all.
Thanks for tuning in to Becoming a Millionaire in 5 Years. Remember, every small step you take today brings you closer to your millionaire goals. If you found value in today's video, please give us a thumbs up and share it with someone who's also ready to change their financial future. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Together, let's turn those dreams into reality. See you next time.